The hype for Natlan is finally underway, and everyone's talking about Natlan. Since it should be coming out after 4.8, I'm going to be going over 20 ways to prepare your account for Natlan during the 4.8 period. Ready? Let's go. If you're still yet to be caught up on the Archon quests, now is a good time to do it, seeing as 4.8 is quite a lot of filler. Plus, if you have yet to experience it, I would say it's a pretty good time to get caught up since you can properly be hyped for the next chapter coming up in Natlan, seeing as the next set of Archon quests are probably going to be updated in 5.0, 5.1 and 5.2, like it's been done in the past. For those of you who are already caught up on the Archon quest, perhaps it's a good time to refresh yourself on what exactly the Archon quest is all about. Especially if you're an older player who's been playing through the story for years, it's easy to forget some of the details, especially with how little Archon quests are actually released. You could probably find an Archon quest recap, or if you want me to make a recap video of the Archon quests, just comment down below, just comment chair if you want me to make a recap video. I don't know. There are a lot of world quests in Genshin, and a lot of them just aren't voiced. There's no voice acting, so it kind of makes playing through world quests a bit long. But if you have nothing else to do, and you know that you have world quests just lying around on your map, or if you go to a region's reputations and go to quests and you have stuff to do there, then it's a good time to clear out that backlog. Plus you get primos for it, which we're going to talk about in a minute, but not now. If you have outstanding story quests to do, it's best to get those done during 4.8. It's always best to have your story quest tab as empty as possible. Hangouts aren't as important to get done since they don't really hold you back from anything and they're just there. If you want to clear out your hangouts too, then by all means go for it. But it's always nice to have your story quest tab as empty as possible, because even if it doesn't hold you back from doing any quests in the long run, it's just nice to have them not there, because story quests are quite time consuming and it can't be nice going into your story quest tab and seeing like a billion characters in there. Just seems stressful. And plus we're gonna get even more when Natlan comes, so just bear that in mind. Primogem planning is important, especially now because 5.0 is coming after 4.8. You're going to want to make the choice as to if you want to pull during 4.8 or if you want to use 4.8 as a time to start saving Primogems for upcoming Natlan characters. If you're wondering about my completely subjective opinion, I would say that pull in 4.8 if there's one, either someone that you really want, like to the point where you've been saving for them for a long time, or only pull if you're guaranteed a unit, and there's someone in 4.8 that you think will be quite handy for you to have. Because in that sense, and unless you're very lucky, you'll lose less wishes that way. And seeing the Natlan hype, it's always wise to have at least a few 10 pulls in the bag before 5.0 comes. Unless you're somebody who 100% exploration insanely fast, chances are you probably have quite a bit of exploration to do, and more specifically in Fontaine. Exploring in Fontaine will not only be a way to get more Primogems, of course, but it's also a nice send-off, since we are going to be leaving Fontaine to go to Natlan. So if you have any unfinished business to take care of there in terms of exploration, then this is a pretty good chance to get that done and say goodbye to Fontaine. I don't know about you, but I always forget about reputations. I'm not sure why. It's probably just a skill issue on my part, but if you have any reputations to do, be it in Fontaine or other regions, then I would say this is a good chance to get that done over the next few weeks. You can't go wrong with any of the rewards that you get, and plus we're going to be getting a whole new region, which means more reputations to do. So why not just knock out any reputations that you may have to the best of your ability? This is something that you can get done like right now if you wanted to. But get some condensed resin for whatever you may need. You may need it for a potential new 5.0 artifact domain or a materials domain. It's always nice at the beginning of a brand new region in a brand new patch to get a new character and level them up to the highest you can get them to, and condensed resin will help a ton with that. This is important, especially if you're not planning on pulling in 4.8, but I reckon it's time to start building up your book collection again, in preparation for new Natlan characters. I know that using your resin on ley lines isn't as exciting as using it on artifact domains. In artifact domains, they have that element of intrigue because of the RNG, but it is so easy to run out of books. Plus, if your teapot is at rank 8 or above, you can get like 20 books per week, which do doing it over a long period of time, you'd be surprised how much it adds up. When I was saving for Arlecchino, that was one of the main ways I was getting books for her. So don't underestimate the teapot. I know we just spoke about ley lines, but also Mora. If you build up multiple characters at once, which could end up happening if you get Natlan characters back to back, it is pretty easy to run out of Mora, because building characters and leveling up talents and leveling up artifacts, it is expensive and it does add up. So Mora ley lines, and even the Battle Pass, if you are a Battle Pass main. Every little helps. This is something you can do if you have nothing else to do but achievement farming. There are a ton of achievements to get in Genshin, and some even hidden ones. You can go into the achievements tab and look at your undone achievements and see what exactly you need to do in order to get them. And if you get stuck, there's probably a YouTube tutorial out there for any and every achievement that you can find. If you have any underleveled Fontaine units that you are planning on using, I reckon now is a good time to start at least ascending them in order to prepare them for potential new team comps that they can be a part of coming into 5.0 and beyond. I mean, this could also apply to any other unit that you're thinking about building up, not just characters from Fontaine. So regardless of whoever you're thinking about building right now, while it's not possible to totally build up every single one of your characters that you have right now, it would be nice to have that backlog lessened a bit, especially for characters that you do want to build up before Natlan comes around, since we are going to be getting a ton of Natlan characters coming out over the next year or so. And even pre-farming. I know for me, I want Risley, and he has yet to get a rerun. So if there's especially a Fontaine unit that hasn't had a rerun yet, and you want them, I would suggest pre-farming for them during 4.8 so that you don't need to do it during Natlan when their time comes. I said Fontaine characters, Shenyan also hasn't had a rerun. So this really isn't limited to just Fontaine characters, so if there's anyone that you want and you haven't got them yet, pre-farm, there's no harm in it. Dream solvents are a lifesaver, especially for new bosses. New Natlan characters are most likely going to be using new boss materials, and it always sucks when you get the wrong drop and you gotta wait a week for it. Dream solvents can come in handy, since you can change it to the material that you actually need. So if you're not too sure what to do during this time in 4.8, just farm bosses and hope that you get lots and lots of dream solvents. I know my dream solvent luck is non-existent. Dust of Azoth is incredibly useful. Say you don't have enough Dendro chunks to ascend him to the next level, but you have enough Geo chunks and you're not planning on building any Geo characters right now. You can change those Geo chunks into Dendro chunks by using this dust. It is only currently available to get through the Paimon's bargain shop, which does require you to wish in order to get the currency to exchange it to get this dust. So if you have the currency to exchange for it, then go for it. If not, this is something that you can be building after you wish for your character of choice. I'll mention this quickly, but try and clear up some of your storage, either on your phone or your PC, before the big Natlan updates. The last thing you want is to be hyped for Natlan, then on the day you try to download it, but you can't because of lack of storage. So now's a good time to start thinking about how you're going to organise your storage. I mentioned the teapot earlier on in the video, but realm currency is nothing to scoff at. If your teapot is at rank 8 or above, you can use the realm currency shop to stock up on a lot of things, including Mora, books. You can get an extra fragile resin every week, as long as you use it within the week. It is a pretty useful thing to have. So if you're not doing it already, whenever you log on to Genshin, whether you do it every day or a couple times a week, just be sure to go into your teapot and collect that realm currency. Let it build up. Even if you've bought your weekly allowance for everything that you need, continue to build it up. If you manage to get any new fragile resin, like from the Battle Pass for example, try not to use it straight away. Try to save it for when Natlan releases. It's a bit like the point I made in the condensed resin point, but it's always nice having as much resin as possible for any new potential domains that come out when a new region drops. Even if you don't pay for the Battle Pass grind is still somewhat worth it for the materials that you get. And especially during 4.8, it is nice to get as much as you can as possible. And the Battle Pass, even if you're free to play, will help. even a little bit. It gives you things to do, which is nice if you want to still be playing consistently during 4.8, because 4.8 is low-key quite filler. So there's 2 reasons to fixate on the battle pass during 4.8. 1, because there's things to do on it, and 2, because of the rewards that you get. I know there are people who do like to max out their statues as soon as possible, but if you're like me, where you're very lazy when it comes to exploration and that sort of stuff, this point is for you. Get your Fontaine statue level up as much as you can. If anything, it's going to help for stamina purposes, and it's always nice having more stamina for a new region. Sumeru was quite big and you needed quite a bit of stamina for that. Fontaine was also quite big, especially the underwater parts, and luckily there were things to help you out underwater with stamina, but you still needed quite a bit of stamina, and I'm sure Natlan will be no different. So get your stamina up as much as you can by leveling up your statues. Again, this is another idea for if you're not too sure what to use your resin for every day. Artifact farm. If you have no one in mind, just farm your favourite artifact domain. I'm saying this because I'm sure, like we've had in the past, I'm sure more artifacts are going to be added to the strongbox. Most likely it's probably going to be artifacts you can find in Sumeru. I'm just going off of what's been done in the past. So if you need any of those artifacts, prepare your inventory for using trash artifacts that you get on those artifact sets when they arrive in the strongbox. And finally, build some pyro units. This is just sheer speculation coming from me, but if you haven't already got a Pyro DPS, I reckon this is a good time to start building one if you have one in mind, since I'm sure because we're going into the nation of Pyro, it's probably going to come in handy. And that's it. Those are 20 potential things you could be doing during 4.8. You don't need to do all of them at once. You can just do 1 or 2 things from this list if you want to. You can even do none. You know what? Whatever. If you want to take a break from Genshin during this time, that's also acceptable. But I want to know your thoughts. What are you going to be doing to prepare your account for Natlan, if anything at all? Thanks for watching, follow my socials, and comment this bird emoji. Peace!